Greetings, reporting live Sunday from Orford Ness, an island just off the coast of East Anglia. I originally saw this place when I was walking around Rendlesham Forest. I just started to see this random island just off the east coast of East Anglia, and it just struck me because the photography was really strange. It had some sort of disused military buildings, looked quite otherworldly, quite dystopian, so I thought, I have to check this out. So I drove here, late this morning, early afternoon, and you have to take a small ferry across the island itself. And it's not inhabited, no one lives on here at all. And overall it's been a military installation since 1913. Now the National Trust, who are a body in the UK who tend to look after heritage sites and old houses and other places in the United Kingdom, it's deemed as culturally significant. They now control this island. And unfortunately not all of it's open to the public because it's breeding season for birds, so a lot of the places are restricted for you to access. But I've been able to walk around most of it, and it's a really sunny, warm day actually, but the wind is so powerful, so it's been quite challenging to find places to actually talk to camera just because the wind's so strong. Overall it's been a military installation, I think, since 1913. And it's been through World War I, II, the Cold War, and the amount of research to do with bombs and aviation and just general weaponry is quite astounding. How much kind of instrumentation came out of this facility. And they do say from the get-go, actually, when I was reading about it, there's so much secretive research that happened here. They don't actually, quite know the full picture. And obviously, a lot of the people who worked at this facility also signed the British Official Secrets Act, so they're never going to talk about what actual research they did here as well. Even though the official line, there was so much technology came out of here we do know about, it just makes me wonder actually what was going on here. And when I was walking around, I was like, maybe they do have underground facilities, but it seemed very marshy, and I was like, maybe that's probably not architecturally possible. But looking around, there's loads of random concrete hatches, small little doorways and stuff, so it does make me think maybe there's a wider facility underneath, but there's no information on that, and that's just me just completely speculating, so I could be sort of completely off base, but yeah.
Orford Ness has been described by some as the UK's Area 51. There are rumours of Tester-style death ray research and later potential EMP weaponry development at this secretive facility. The question arises, is there a link to UFO interactions that occurred during the 1980s at Rendlesham Forest due to the secretive experimentation with frequency? Towards the end of April of this year, I visited Rendlesham Forest, intuitively drawn to this stark, barren landscape. I felt there may be a thread of connection to the Rendlesham Forest Incident. This video details my visit to the eerie, starkly beautiful location and my later interwoven research and understanding of what potentially occurred at Orford Ness. It is part of a trilogy, the final video from the Suffolk area. The first video explores Rendlesham Forest, the second, Sutton Hoo, and now the final one, Orford Ness. This now abandoned facility is situated on the Suffolk coast in England and stretches for some 10 miles parallel to the coastline of East Anglia. The history of Orford Ness military activity dates back to 1913 as a testing site. Its importance solidified during World War I and then World War II, and finally during the Cold War. Officially, the last personnel left Orford Ness around 1987. The site was later sold to the National Trust, a charity that tends to historical buildings and key locations throughout the United Kingdom. Much of the openly discussed historical research at Orford Ness includes bomb ballistics, refinement of aerodynamics, and development of safety equipment. Explosives were even dropped over deserted shingle beaches. Their performance was recorded from certain specially designed facilities. Various airfields were even built despite the less than ideal geology and landscape. Between 1938 and 1959, aircraft were subjected to controlled simulated attacks to investigate vulnerabilities and to increase resilience and defensive capabilities of aircraft design. Radio direction finding, RDF, or radar, was also developed from 1933 to 1937. This research was headed by Robert Watson Watt. Many attribute him to be the pioneer of radar, but it appears there were many other scientists and inventors perfecting this technology as far back as 1904. A German engineer, Christian Holzmeier, patented an early version of radar to prevent ships from colliding. But these disclosed technologies and research activities come from the officially accepted narrative. Question is there more to this story than we are being told? Over the years, the architecture and usage of the military island has morphed and changed, but many structures still prominently exist. Many are heavily decayed, and some have now been transformed into exhibition spaces as part of the National Trust's preservation of the area. Laboratory buildings were officially utilised in the testing of bomb ballistics and other explosives. The highly distinctive pagoda buildings had roofs designed to cave in on themselves in case of accidental explosions, insulating any collateral damage. These areas were used for testing delicate components of nuclear bombs. The bomb ballistics building overlooked a vast area of flat shingle and housed state-of-the-art high-speed photography to record and analyse the aerodynamic nature of bombs as they were dropped onto the beach. The control tower provided a high vantage point over the area and its activities to facilitate observational testing. Previously, there was also a prominent lighthouse on the island, which was again a very handy navigational aid for pilots and a lookout post during wartime operations. The lighthouse was even featured in the debunking of the Rendlesham Forest Incident by some investigators, who claimed the otherworldly light seen by US personnel actually came from the Orford Ness lighthouse. The more recent and larger building, Cobra Mist, was officially for over-the-horizon radar developments as part of the Cold War hostilities towards Russia. However, this project might have a deeper, more secretive reason for its existence, with potential links to Nikola Tesla's legendary death ray research. The main reason I travelled to this area of Suffolk was to experience Rendlesham Forest. Towards the end of December 1980, there were legendary stories concerning strange lights, UFO interactions, and potential encounters with entities. The sightings and interactions involved US military personnel stationed at RAF Woodbridge during the height of the Cold War. These potential otherworldly interactions allegedly occurred over 4 days. There are many conflicting narratives and theories surrounding this event. This small film links to other dedicated videos I made concerning Rendlesham Forest and Sutton Hoo. Links to these videos are in the description. While researching the area more deeply, I noticed a strange looking island on the map with eye-catching odd architecture. This turned out to be Orford Ness, a striking place that felt connected to the Rendlesham story in some way. Driving around the Suffolk countryside made it abundantly clear how large and looming the military presence was, specifically how much of a strong foothold the United States has in the area, and even to this day. With military bases, there always seems to be an energetic, maybe even spiritual presence. This is duplicated around the world. Are these global military powers drawn by intuition to these locations? Or is there an understanding within covert circles of Earth energies and their importance in certain classified technologies or even occult practices. I can attest that this area has potent energies, recognised by the ancient burial grounds of Sutton Hoo, which was uncovered due to individuals experiencing prophetic dreams, psychic visions, and even ghostly apparitions. In the late 1930s, one of the most important archaeological discoveries was made there, revealing a majestic and sophisticated Anglo-Saxon royal dynasty. Like many burial grounds, it is highly likely the site was considered sacred by earlier civilizations, with Anglo-Saxons choosing to be buried close to the sacred area to aid their journey to the afterlife. From my perspective, the Rendlesham Forest Incident isn't isolated to RAF Woodbridge, but also includes Sutton Hoo, Orford Ness, and potentially Myrtlesham Heath, another former experimental military testing facility later shared by British Telecom for their research. Harnessing energy frequency opens many avenues, sometimes leading to dual uses and deeper applications. Frequency can affect human behaviour, manipulate the weather, heal the human body, destroy matter, transmit energy, and even scan and map environments. Orford Ness's official story discloses the use of frequency in radar development to detect craft and projectiles, but could it go deeper than that? Could plasma weaponry, portals, and rips in space-time have also been researched? Or were these merely unintended consequences of their activities? From my own perspective, these questions are sensible, especially given the secrecy around this site. On a previous podcast of mine, Portals, Stargates and Wormholes, I discussed whistleblower Arthur Neumann. He claimed a laser instrument, known as the Livermore-Shivanova project from the 1980s in the United States, created fusion reactions using a giant array of lasers and capacitors, focusing terawatts of energy onto a tiny point. The unintended effect was to create a rip in space-time, allowing other intelligences to bleed into our reality. The very idea of portals and dimensional physics starts to tie into conspiracy folklore stories from the covert projects in the United States, such as the Philadelphia experiment, which occurred during World War II in an attempt to render ships invisible to the enemy. Then the preceding covert operation, the Montauk project, which utilised at its core electrical frequencies for mind control, creation of portals, and potentially even time travel. Harking back to the Rendlesham incident, could we then theorise scientists were purposely experimenting with sophisticated plasma weaponry? This could explain why witnesses were seeing various brightly coloured balls of light flying around the forest at night. Although this theory doesn't then account for the physical beings and triangular craft experiences that some witnesses claim to have seen. This is why Orford Ness may intersect with the Rendlesham story, based on my perspective and intuitive understanding, but I could be completely off the mark, or still only have a partial understanding of what actually went on. Much of the key information concerning Orford Ness, especially regarding the Cobra Mist building and Tester-style Deathway research, comes from Professor Simon Holland. I only recently became acquainted with his work. He seems to share my opinion that facilities like Orford Ness are involved in the Rendlesham story in some way. His investigations impressively have involved working closely with former retired US military John Burroughs, one of the main experiences of the Rendlesham incident. He was stationed at RAF Woodbridge at the time. For more information concerning Rendlesham and other military facilities around Suffolk, including Orford Ness, I really recommend Simon's channel. of the less known strange technologies allegedly tested on the island stems from Tesla's rumoured death ray. In 1935, Tesla, an electrical genius who seemingly had the supernatural ability to visualize and create groundbreaking technology, proposed teleforce, a defensive technology using plasma and subatomic particles accelerated by electricity to create a destructive force. Tesla was way ahead of his time, even allegedly devising ways to wirelessly transmit electricity without the use of complex wires and pylons. These plans were unceremoniously stopped by his financial backers because it decentralized the technology too much. Tesla died a penniless old man in New York in a hotel. Much of his research was sequestered by the CIA and elements were redacted from the public. His profound research on frequency and electricity opened doors to other areas of complex technologies. Some were hugely beneficial to humanity. Others could be weaponized for more destructive purposes. Initially, both US and UK governments had turned down Tesla's teleforce research, but secretly, the UK government later acquired Tesla's secret death ray research. During World War II, fears of Nazi energy weapons led to Britain's enlistment of Robert Watson Watt to develop their own version of the death ray, based off Tesla's stolen knowledge. Watson Watt was given permission to build this destructive instrument and test its effectiveness on the unwitting sheep that grazed and shared the Orford Ness island with the military. However, without Tesla's coil technology, the device lacked sufficient power. Officially, the death ray was abandoned, and Watson Watt went on to focus on development of radar technology. So, was this the end of the death ray? Or merely was the research carried on in secret with Cobra Mist? Cobra Mist was a combined Anglo-American effort to develop over-the-horizon backscatter radar to detect oncoming craft and missile launches from the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The project dates back to the 1960s, with the construction beginning in 1967 and operations starting in the early 1970s. Despite significant investment in people, time and money, the project was abruptly halted, supposedly due to the constant technical setbacks. As a result, the entire project and building were closed in 1973. According to Simon Holland, based on his research and a video interview dated February 2024 with a senior aerospace electronics designer named Peter, Cobra Mist was not about radar, but rather a continuation of Tesla's death ray research. Peter, who works in the commercial aircraft sector and with the European Space Agency, provided a detailed understanding based on his own experience and information from colleagues. Both Simon and Peter believe that Cobra Mist was actually an EMP, electromagnetic pulse device, or a laser self-defense weapon, LSDW. Peter confirmed that it would have been impossible for Cobra Mist to function as over-the-horizon radar because the computing power to process the data did not exist at the time. Moreover, the antenna's array's fan shape faced the wrong direction. For radar, the curved side of the array should have faced Russia, but it faced southwest England and beyond into Rendlesham. This theory is further supported by the fact that Sizewell Nuclear Power Station generated more power than necessary for radar purposes. Additionally, expensive, sophisticated high-tension underground cabling was used instead of overground pylon electrical cabling. The antenna design of Cobra Mist suggests it was more of a laser defense device rather than radar. According to Peter, the device worked effectively, but was abandoned because using it to disable all electrical systems in Russia would also affect other European countries, such as Belgium. The use of such a weapon would cause significant political fallout with their allies. This sudden realisation led to the facility being closed down, causing a headache for the British government due to employment laws and many people being made redundant without notice. Eventually, there was a class action suit against the UK government. However, the story didn't end there. Simon and Peter noted that scientists from SRI International, Stanford Research Institute, known for working in highly classified esoteric areas of governmental and militaristic technologies, were stationed both at Cobra Mist and Myrtlesham Heath. It is understood that the technology was potentially downsized to operate in a sea container, making it mobile and reducing the risk of catastrophic collateral damage associated with a fixed point installation. This video concludes the trilogy of the Rendlesham Forest explorations. Simon Holland's work has been vital in giving me a more contextualised understanding of how all these locations fit together. Intuitively, I thought there was a connection, but I wasn't sure how. There is an undeniable stark beauty to the landscape of Orford Ness. Its importance to the rest of the nation and the world has largely been obscured. Another aspect of Orford Ness, the lighthouse, according to Simon Holland's investigations, was way more than a simple observational post. There were rumours it was used as a transmitter. Apparently, a BBC film crew was sent to film the demolition, but was forbidden to film the inner workings of the structure. Additionally, a wealthy Suffolk businessman wanted to buy the lighthouse and memorialise it elsewhere at a different location, but the authorities said he could only have the top part of the lighthouse. Again, what frequency experiments were being carried out, and do they influence and interact with the Rendlesham event? Admittedly, I'd never heard of Orford Ness until I visited Rendlesham. It is fascinating that the advancement of energy and frequency has potentially revealed a huge array of complex technologies. Unfortunately, these advancements are still hidden from us, and in some instances have been weaponised against a country's own people. Hopefully, over time, the truth will surface, and we can course correct society to a more harmonious place and harness these latent, powerful energies. Thank you so much for joining me on this final odyssey in Suffolk. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and heard, please do consider leaving a like or even subscribe to the channel. Also, any donations will be greatly received. Links are in the description. You can explore more at reconsidersimon.com. I'm on all major podcasting platforms and video streaming services. Till next time, bye bye.